guys, welcome back to my knitting podcast, Imladris Pod. It's been a little while because, first of all, last year was kind of a crazy year. The end of the year was equally crazy because I decided to do gifts. As I said in one of my previous videos, I ended up making them all almost on time. Most of them were on time, but one of them I'm mailing soon. But yeah, so I just really wanted to make a video kind of putting together everything that I made in 2023, which was a lot. I think more than I've ever made in any year ever, because I kind of fell face first back into knitting. So yeah, this is an FO episode exclusively, and if you are interested in seeing what I'm currently working on, I actually joined my friends at Kindful Knits. They have a new episode coming out pretty soon. I don't know which day exactly. But yeah, we did a whip parade, and that's going to be really fun to watch. So I hope that you'll go check that out, and I'll put the link down in the description. This year I graduated from college, saw Taylor Swift, got married, went to the UK for my honeymoon, and made, I think, more Christmas gifts than I've ever made that were actually like wearables, because I've made people stuffies before, but yeah, a lot. I think at the end of the video too, I will throw out some of my goals for 2024. They're not hard, I must do these, but they're kind of just like, I would really like to make this kind of garment this year, or I'd really like to use this kind of fiber, or whatever. It's mostly just projects that I'm really feeling up to and that I would like to make by the end of the year. So I will go ahead and do that at the end, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start right off with the first project that I have. And I'm using my Ravelry to figure out exactly how many projects that I made, because I'm very diligent about keeping track that way, which has actually been really useful. So I'm just going to start from beginning of the year and go all the way to the end. So the first project that I finished, that I have logged finished in 2023, were these socks that I made. They are, the pattern is Rye Light by Tin Can Knits, and I used Cascade Heritage sock in, oh gosh, Passion Flower, I think it is. And actually these were my first socks for myself. My first socks in fingering weight, and it was my first time using fingering weight with the suggested needle size, which is way smaller than I usually work with. So I like how they turned out. The only things that I think I would do differently are, I'd probably make them a little taller, because when I wear these, sometimes they kind of slip down into my shoe, or the texture just doesn't feel very good on the back of my foot. And for some reason, when I'm walking around on these, like, I can feel the stitches on the bottom of my foot. So I'm not sure if it's maybe I need to make a different yarn choice next time, or maybe it's my gauge. I'm not really sure, but overall these are really cute, and I'm quite happy with how they turned out. The next thing I made was the Santorini kerchief, and let's see, it's by Susan Mills Knits, and I made it just out of basic cotton, but instead of just making the basic kerchief, I also did a Fair Isle design of a bird on it, which in hindsight I probably should have just done intarsia, or maybe duplicate stitch probably would have been better, actually. But it still turned out good, and it's with my mom now, so I'll just show a picture of it here. But yeah, I had fun with it, and I would make more. I actually have another coming up, but soon. The third thing I made, I'm just calling my purse junk cozy, because I just was like, I want a pouch to put my chapstick in, and my nail clippers and nail file and stuff, where they won't get lost. So I made this, and I actually used it quite a lot. I haven't been using it lately just because I switched bags, and I have just forgotten for literal months that I have it. So maybe this will be my reminder to use it, but I didn't use a pattern. I pretty much just made a big rectangle of, this is, I think, twisted rib. I can't remember. Something like that. Super easy, and then just sewed it together. And I just used basic acrylic. Like, I think I have it here somewhere. Yeah, I just used this basic acrylic that I actually really like the color of, and I wish I knew what it was, whether it's Red Heart or whatever. The next thing I made was my hiker's waistcoat. There it is. My first garment besides a hat. It's like my first serious garment, I guess I should say. And I used, the pattern is by the Fiber Company. Again, it's called the Hiker's Waistcoat. I used Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool in Natural. And I know I explained it in another video, but I just figured since you're here. This is actually like half done with like a 15-year-old skein of this yarn, and then the other half is done with a brand new skein that I had bought because I didn't have quite enough yarn. And you can't really notice a difference except for when you feel it. The side with the old yarn feels a lot softer, and actually there's like some little blemishes. They're barely noticeable, but I noticed them. And then the side with the new yarn feels a lot more rough, I guess. But it's not bad, and I like the construction of this. I like how solid it feels, and I love the woolly texture. I haven't worn it very much just because I'm trying to get into vests, clearly, as you'll see from the rest of this video. But I don't always know how to style them, so I'm just trying to figure that out. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention about this vest is that I started knitting it actually when I was probably a preteen or so, not terribly long after I started knitting, and I just didn't have the patience for it, so I shelved that for a really long time, and finally earlier this year, I think, I want to say April or May or so, I just decided to tackle it, and I did it, and I was so proud of myself. So this is a very special knit, I think, and I think it'll last a long time. This is my second of that kerchief, Santorini kerchief, and this is just a plain one that I wanted to make for myself, sort of to give a, I don't know, I just wanted to kind of get like a cottagecore vibe. I mean, it's really cute. The only problem I have with it is that with the cotton, it makes it really hard to tie this I-cord together and keep it fastened. So I don't know if I'm gonna make a different I-cord or use shoelace or something like that. Otherwise, it's really cute, and I am glad I made it. I'm probably gonna make more. I might make another one out of a different kind of fabric, because honestly, this is the kind of cotton they use to make like a dish towel out of. So it's not the best, but it is good for summertime, which is when I intend to wear it, so we'll see. The next thing I made was my first test knit that I started. I actually have it here. Ugh. I like to keep it on display because it's so pretty. This is my Twist and a Shout vest by Jamie Creates. Her book is actually coming out pretty soon, and this is one of the designs from that book. And let's see, I used Malabrigo Rasta in Rosalinda for this, and seriously, just that color, I just can't get over that color. I've worn it a few times already. Once I actually wore it at a skating rink, which was really fun. I went to Oaks Park up in Portland, Oregon, and yeah, I felt really cute wearing that, and so I think it's one of my favorite fun summertime tank tops in general. And yeah, I would highly recommend the pattern when that comes out because it was super easy and it goes by really, really fast. The next thing I made, I don't have it on me right now, but I made the V stripy vest, also by Jamie Creates, for her book. This one was also really quick and it was fun because it was mostly just stocking it in the round and it was stripes, and so the stripes kind of made it more interesting than just stocking it all in one color, and it turned out really cute. I used Lion Brand Thick and Quick for that one. I wasn't a super big fan of the drape of the Thick and Quick, so I think if I were to make that pattern again, I would use a little bit stiffer yarn, maybe one that doesn't have quite so much acrylic in it. The next thing I made was not a garment. It's called Fat Rat, and the pattern is just Rat by Elizabeth Kellner on Ravelry. Let me just get my iPad here. Yeah, I used fisherman's wool on that, and I used Patons classic wool, and this is probably the most realistic stuffed thing that I've made. It's kind of creepy how realistic it is. I'll show pictures up here. It was a gift for my little brother who lost his rat, who was named Fat Rat, so that's why I named the stuffy, because it is supposed to be based off Fat Rat. The next thing I made was pattern is called Beans the Cat by Linda Dawkins, and I just used some old wool I have lying around for that, and it was made for my little sister. I would probably do the stitching on the face a little bit differently next time, but otherwise I was pretty happy with it. The next thing I made was the ivy jumper. It's probably the coolest thing I made this year, I think. This is also a test knit for Jamie Creates, her book coming out soon. This is the ivy jumper, and I used Drops Snow for it. And it was actually kind of funny because I was actually going to use this yarn for the Twist and Shout vest, but the yarn weight on I think it was Wool Warehouse where I got the yarn, the weight of the yarn was actually not accurate, so I ended up needing to just stash this yarn and buy a different yarn for the Twist and Shout vest, and so I ended up applying for this test with the yarn I had, and I'm really glad I did, because even though I was tearing my hair out at times because stitch counts and like because of the nature of this pattern, you can't be missing yarn overs or decreases or anything like that, because like for instance, if you're knitting up here, all the rows below it rely on that row being correct. But I persevered and I did it, and I'm so glad I did. So I haven't worn it a whole lot because the yarn is a little bit itchy and I haven't had anything suitable to wear under it, but I just got like a white turtleneck that I can wear under it, so it's probably going to see a little more wear. Plus there's a few ends that I still need to weave in, but we don't have to talk about those. I'll just bundle these next two patterns because they're very similar. Mochi Land has some Halloween cat patterns, like I think they're spooky ooky cats. I made the ghosty cat and the Jacko cat for a couple of my coworkers, and they just turned out so cute. I'll share pictures here. Yeah, and I don't even remember what wool I used, but those patterns are very good for using up scraps. The next thing is one of my other favorite knits from this year. I just want to show off this raglan pattern first because, oh my god. Anyways, this is the candy sweater. This was my first raglan, my first sort of everyday sweater that I made, and I truly do wear it pretty often. Not as often as like my factory made sweaters, to be honest, because when I wear this I just like to make sure that I'm styling it the way I want to. And the pattern is by Luno Knit on Ravelry. What did I use? Berroco Vintage DK in rose quartz, and I actually ran out of yarn, but luckily the yarn I ordered to finish the sweater, you can't even notice when I changed because the dyes lots look almost exactly the same. The only things that I modified were the sleeves, or the cuffs, because they were just, you know, made with the same needle size the whole time, but I decided to rip those out and make them with a smaller needle size and do some decreases so they look more like, a little bit like balloon sleeves, and that's a lot better than what I had before. And I still need to redo the bottom hem here because the pattern just has you make it with the same needle size as the rest of the sweater, but I want to drop a couple needle sizes and redo it so that it's a little bit tighter. But overall, I'm very happy with this, and it was a really fun and relaxing knit because it's just stockinette the whole time, except for these raglan increases, which are just basically some simple cables and make one right, make one left increases. Very, very easy. The next thing I made, and I actually frogged this, but when I was on my honeymoon, I made the Bummy Beanie by Dylan Croxton on Ravelry, and it's a really cute hat, but I realized after I made it that the way it was made wasn't really for me, so I ended up frogging it, and I'm probably about halfway through a ribbed beanie right now. And the yarn that I'm using for that, and that I used for this other beanie, were Savannah Rose Handmade had a Halloween collection of yarn, of hand-dyed yarn, and this is made with the Halloween Town colorway, which is so cute. The next project I made was my first Sophie scarf, and this was made with Lamb's Pride Superwash. It was a Christmas gift from my mother-in-law. Not much to say about it except I love this pattern now, and I've made 3, so I will show you the other ones momentarily. The next project that I made, or the next thing I made, was the Outline Tee by Jessie May. This was a sample knit for Laura at Always Be Kind Yarn / Kindful Knits, and this was a project, as you can see. Yeah. So the fun thing about this is that I did not do this pooling intentionally. The yarn just did it on its own, and this yarn colorway is called Gloworm. I made it in her sock yarn base, which is fun because this is the top and it was made with sock yarn. A lot of different sizes of people can wear this. I can barely wear it because my shoulders are so narrow, but like anyone who's slightly wider than me can wear this, and yeah, I'm just so happy with how this turned out, and I really like the way that Jessie May writes her patterns with all the different sizes and the modifications you can do and the clarity of the patterns, so I'm definitely gonna do some more of her patterns. Yeah. So happy with how this turned out, and I'm actually borrowing this right now because I gave it away to Laura, and I've already seen it at one trunk show, which just the best thing ever. The next thing I made was another test knit, this time for Taylor at Needle Fox Arts. This is the Ribbon Candy Cowl, and just look at those Christmas colors. These are also made with Savannah Rose Handmade yarn, which at this point is not a surprise. But this is her Goosebumps colorway, the green there. This is the Halloween H20 colorway based on the Halloween franchise, and then this stripe here is Hocus Pocus, and you can see a bigger stripe here, but I am just obsessed with these colors, and even though they're Halloween colors, they really give me like a kind of a gingerbread forest vibe, which is kind of a fun juxtaposition there. Nightmare Before Christmas, I guess. The next thing, the Fuzzy Pixie Hood by Fable Knitwear. This one was a really fun knit, and it was my first time, I think it was my first time ever knitting with mohair, and I gotta say, I'm just obsessed with how it looks with the halo, and I've worn it a few times now, and it just is so warm. I love it. And not to mention these colors, it's really hard to convey just how deep and vibrant these colors are. It's appearing a lot brighter on the screen than it really is. It's really a lot more of kind of a deep magenta. But yeah, the only thing that I think I would do differently next time is make it a size bigger, because I was kind of hoping that it would be a little bit more slouchy. So I will just kind of show you what I mean. Like, see if I move my camera. See, it's really cute, and it's got the little point there, which is great, but it's just not slouchy. It kind of just wraps around my whole head, which is fine. Like, I like that look, but I'll probably eventually make another one, just a little bit bigger. I don't know. It's cute, and I'm really excited to make more of her patterns eventually. I feel like her style just really speaks to me. With like the little puff shoulders she has in a lot of her garments, especially, and like I don't know what those sleeves are called, where it's like ribbing sleeve. If someone knows what those are called, please let me know, because I love them. Another one of my favorite wearables I made this year is the Age of Brass and Steam kerchief. And I made this out of Always Be Kind yarn, Kaylin's Galaxy in DK. And I'm just obsessed with the color on this. I've already worn it several times, and it's just so easy to throw around my shoulders or whatever. Let me just wear this for the rest of the video because I love it so much. But I actually discovered this shawl because I was watching the Wool Sea Knitting podcast, and I saw her Age of Brass and Steam kerchief, and it just looked like the perfect thing for me to bring to work and just, have something cute and cozy on my shoulders, because I like that sort of thing. So yeah, I made it, and I'm just so thrilled with it. The next few things I made were all gifts, and so I will share the pictures of them on the screen here. But the first one I finished was the next 4 things are gifts, actually. I finished 3 iterations of my own Good Bean beanie pattern. One of them was like a shorter sort of fisherman's cap style one, which I basically I made my pattern, but I just shortened it. And then I made a small size with like a star duplicate stitched onto the front. And then I also made a larger one, which was, if you've seen pictures of my Good Bean, which I'll share a picture here. But the blue one that I've shown pictures of, I actually duplicate stitched an X-Men logo on it and gifted it to my father-in-law, and he's really happy with it. So that makes me happy. And then the third thing I did was another Sophie scarf. This time I made it in Feels Like Butta by Lion Brand in cranberry. So that's 23 things that I made this year, which is pretty good, but I wonder if I can do more, or on the flip side, if I can use more yards this year, because I don't have my exact yardage count right now, but I think I can figure it out based on the yarn that I have left. I have most of my yardages in my stash, like on Ravelry, but there are a few things, especially things that I gifted, that I didn't do the calculations for, which is not a big deal. Especially, I've mostly gifted small things, so I've got the yardages for like my sweaters and this whatnot. So I have a lot of specific patterns I want to make this year, but I'd say in general, a few things that I really, really, really want to make are a turtleneck sweater. I'm probably going to go with the Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit. If I remember correctly, she has a couple different very similar turtleneck patterns, but one of them is in heavier yarn. Like this one I think is in an Aran weight sweater, and then there's the other one which is I think the chestnut sweater, which is more like DK-ish. I can't remember exactly, but and speaking of chestnut, I really love to make the chestnut dress eventually. We'll see. It's probably not going to be this year. I don't know. I'm not going to put that on myself because it's a dress. And it's a really long dress with long sleeves and a turtleneck. So that's kind of in my big hopes and dreams category. Maybe like, sorry, my video recording stopped because my camera is silly. Anyways, I was just saying that the chestnut dress probably in my big magnum opus hopes and dreams category, so I'm just going to put that over there for now. I also want to make all the designs that I've thought of come to life, which is easier said than done, mostly because of making a sample, getting that all written down, getting testers and all that, but I'm definitely willing to go through all the steps so that it's written well and it's clear enough to make. So I know I've got like a cottagecore sweater that I've talked about I think several times at this point, but it's still there. I have the yarn for it. I'm just waiting until I think I have less whips going on, and as you'll see from the Kindful Knits video, I might have the most whips out of the three of us, me, Laura, and Arminda, but I'm working on those right now. Don't worry about it. And another thing that I really, really want to make is a tank top this year, because I sort of made a tank top last year with the twist and shout vest, but I want to make like an actual kind of a staple tank top for my wardrobe, and I've decided I'm going to make the mini mock tank, which I actually might make a little longer because I got the yarn for it already. I'm using more Savannah Rose Handmade yarn, this time in a colorway from her new Suspiria collection, which I am so excited about. I bought 2 skeins of fingering, which I don't know, for my size you need just over 1 skein, so I think with the extra yarn I'll be able to make it longer, and so that's going to be really cute. So yeah, that's what I knitted in 2023, and I'm so proud of myself for what I've accomplished this year, how far my knitting reached. I guess like I started this podcast, I got on Instagram this past year, I went to my first fiber festival, I made my first sweater, got into fingering yarn, which feels like a big deal, to be honest. I made knitting friends because I started going to my local yarn store probably back around March before I graduated from college. I did a lot of stress knitting, especially because earlier this year I was writing a thesis, like a history thesis, so it was very long. It ended up being around 50 pages, so I did a lot of stress knitting and got through it, and I learned a ton of new techniques, and especially when it came to garment shaping, like I learned how to do raglan increases and how to make sleeves, and I got better at picking up stitches and learning what kind of cuffs I like and shapes I like and all that stuff, and I think that's really gonna help me when it comes to making some of my ideas come to life this year. And yeah, I'm just so excited for what the year is gonna bring, and thank you for watching, and hope you all have a great 2024. I'll see you next time.